Impact forecasting 50% expansion in electric vehicle adoption across 4 key sectors by 2025: automotive, public transportation, logistics, and renewable energy. Date: February 9, 2025. Overview: the electric vehicle EV sector is poised for significant expansion across 4 critical areas: automotive, public transportation, logistics, and renewable energy, forecasting a 50% growth in adoption by 2025. This report synthesizes data from various authoritative sources including the International Energy Agency (IEA) and related academic articles to outline the factors driving this transformation, the expected trajectory of EV sales, and the implications for emissions and energy consumption. 1. Current landscape and adoption trends. Global projections. According to the IEA, the global electric vehicle fleet is projected to grow 12-fold by 2035. With more than 250 million EVs expected on the road by 2030. The IEA anticipates that electric light-duty vehicles (LDVs) will comprise 40% of total vehicle sales by 2030 and 55% by 2035 under current policy frameworks. This growth trajectory is largely influenced by robust policy support and rapidly advancing technology coupled with increasing consumer acceptance of EVs. Regional highlights. China remains the dominant player in the EV market, with projections indicating that the sales share of new energy vehicles and EVs could reach 50% by 2025. European countries and the United States are also making significant strides with aggressive targets in place to transition their vehicle fleets toward electrification. China, nearly 60% of new car sales were electric in 2023, with projections of 50% in EV sales by 2025. United States, electric LDV sales are projected to reach 55% by 2030. Driven by policy changes and increased infrastructure development. Europe, the European Union is implementing stringent CO2 standards that will require significant increases in electric vehicle sales. 2. Key drivers of EV adoption. Policy support and investment. A common theme among all reports is the necessity for substantial public and private investment in EV infrastructure and technology. Governments worldwide are enacting policies that support EV adoption, including subsidies for electric vehicle purchases. Many countries such as India and various Latin American nations are providing financial incentives to encourage the purchase of electric vehicles. Investment in charging infrastructure. The development of robust charging networks is essential for enabling widespread EV adoption, with countries like the US committing significant funding to expand charging access. Technological advancements. Technological progress in battery technology, manufacturing processes, and vehicle design is crucial to the growth of the EV market. Improvements in battery efficiency and reductions in production costs are making electric vehicles more competitive with traditional internal combustion engine (ICE) vehicles. 3. Sector-specific insights. Automotive sector. The automotive sector is expected to see the most significant growth in electric vehicle adoption. The IEA estimates that electric LDVs will triple in sales to more than 43 million by 2030. This sector's growth is supported by increasing availability of models. The number of electric vehicle models available is approaching 600, with a growing focus on larger vehicles such as SUVs and trucks. Consumer demand for sustainable options. Increasing awareness of climate change and environmental issues is driving consumer preference for electric vehicles. Public transportation. The public transportation sector is actively pursuing electrification to reduce emissions and improve urban air quality. For example, electrification targets. Countries like India aim for 50,000 electric buses on the road by 2027, while cities worldwide are committing to fully electric public transport fleets by 2035. Government funding. Significant funding initiatives such as the UK's zero-emission bus programs are accelerating the deployment of electric buses. Logistics and freight transport. The logistics sector is gradually adopting electric vehicles, albeit at a slower pace than other sectors. Key developments include growth in electric trucks. While heavy-duty trucks still lag in electrification, commitments from various countries are expected to boost the market, with projections of 20% of medium and heavy-duty truck sales being electric by 2035. Cost competitiveness. Research indicates that zero-emission vehicles could achieve total cost of ownership parity for many applications, enhancing their attractiveness for logistics companies. Renewable energy integration. The transition to electric vehicles is closely linked with the renewable energy sector. Charging infrastructure powered by renewables. As charging infrastructure expands, integrating renewable energy sources will be essential for maximizing the environmental benefits of electric vehicles. Reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. The shift to electric vehicles is expected to lead to significant reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, contributing to global climate goals. 4. Timeline of projected growth. 2023, electric vehicle sales reached nearly 14 million globally, with significant contributions from China's 60% of sales, Europe 25%, and the United States 10%. 2025, China aims for a 50% sales share of new energy vehicles, positioning itself as a leader in the EV market. 2030, the IEA projects electric LDV sales to account for 40% of the market share, with substantial increases in public transport electrification. 2035, global EV sales shares are expected to reach 55%, with substantial contributions from heavy-duty vehicles and logistics sectors. Conclusion. The collective insights from various sources underscore a transformative period for electric vehicle adoption across automotive, public transportation, logistics, and renewable energy sectors. Driven by supportive policies, increasing consumer acceptance, and technological advancements, the EV market is set for robust growth by 2025 and beyond. The implications for global carbon emissions and energy demands are significant, marking a pivotal shift toward a more sustainable future. As stakeholders across industries collaborate to overcome challenges and capitalize on opportunities, the electrification of transportation is poised to reshape the global landscape. The content presents various insights regarding the projected growth and expansion of electric vehicle EV adoption across key sectors. Here are some counterintuitive pieces of information identified in the content. 1. Consumer acceptance versus sales forecasts. Despite a forecasted 12-fold increase in the global electric vehicle fleet by 2035, indicating strong consumer acceptance, the actual sales share of electric vehicles was only around 15% in 2023. This suggests that while projections are optimistic, real-world adoption may lag behind due to factors like cost, availability, and consumer preferences for traditional vehicles. 2. China's market leadership. While it is widely recognized that China is leading global EV sales, the expectation that its share of global sales will shrink from almost 60% in 2023 to around 40% by 2030 is counterintuitive. This decline is attributed to the rapid growth of the EV market in other regions, particularly the United States and Europe, which is surprising given China's dominance in manufacturing and sales. 3. Public transportation electrification. The narrative often emphasizes the electrification of private vehicles, yet significant advancements are projected in public transport, particularly buses. The expectation that electric buses will represent 30% of sales globally by 2035, despite being a small segment, indicates a major shift in public transportation that is often overlooked in discussions focused on personal vehicles. 4. Investment in infrastructure gap. Although substantial investments are anticipated in EV infrastructure and technology to facilitate rapid adoption, the actual implementation of these investments often shows a gap. For instance, the difference between ambitious targets set by countries and the pace of infrastructure development poses a challenge that contradicts the notion that investment alone can drive adoption. 5. The slow electrification of trucks. While heavy-duty trucks are often seen as a significant barrier to the electrification of transport, the projections suggest that they will not reach even 30% sales share until 2035. This contrasts with the rapid electrification expected in lighter vehicles, highlighting an unexpected disparity in the speed of adoption across vehicle types. 6. Emerging markets and electric 2/3-wheelers. The focus on electric 2 and 3-wheelers in emerging markets as a primary target for electrification is intriguing. While these markets are often seen as lagging in EV adoption, the expectation that they will electrify their 2/3-wheeler fleets significantly suggests a different pathway to adoption that may not align with the trends observed in developed markets. 7. Second-hand market growth. The anticipated growth of the second-hand market for electric vehicles, which is expected to become a critical component of broader adoption, is counterintuitive in the context of the current focus on new vehicle sales. The idea that used EVs will gain traction and provide affordable options for consumers is often overshadowed by discussions centered on new purchases. 8. Battery production versus EV sales. The projection that committed battery manufacturing capacity will exceed the demand from EV sales raises questions about market dynamics. The assumption that battery manufacturers can keep up with EV production is challenged by the reality that excess capacity could lead to price drops, affecting profitability and potentially slowing down the market's growth. 9. Largest markets versus niche segments. While significant growth is expected in the mainstream EV markets of China, Europe, and the United States, the counterintuitive aspect is that many emerging and developing economies are focusing on electrifying smaller segments like 2/3-wheelers rather than competing directly in the larger vehicle markets. This suggests a divergence in strategic focus that may not align with expectations of uniform growth patterns across global markets. These insights highlight the complexities and unexpected trends within the EV market and its adoption across various sectors, suggesting that while optimistic projections exist, real-world dynamics may yield different outcomes. Significant insights from the report on electric vehicle adoption. 1. Rapid growth projections. The report projects a staggering 12-fold increase in the global electric vehicle EV fleet by 2035. With over 250 million EVs anticipated on the road by 2030. This substantial growth is underpinned by strong policy support, technological advancements, and rising consumer acceptance. The expectation that electric light-duty vehicles (LDVs) will constitute 40% of total sales by 2030 and 55% by 2035 is a remarkable indicator of the industry's direction. Significance. The rapid growth of the EV market represents not just a change in consumer preferences but also a pivotal shift in global energy systems. This transformation holds implications for energy demand, urban infrastructure, and environmental policy, necessitating a re-evaluation of strategies across multiple sectors. 2. Investment in infrastructure. A consistent theme throughout the report is the critical role of public and private investment in EV infrastructure, particularly charging networks, as governments implement supportive policies. The need for robust infrastructure becomes paramount to facilitate widespread EV adoption. Significance. The emphasis on infrastructure investment is often overlooked but is essential for ensuring that the transition to electric mobility is smooth and effective. Without adequate charging facilities, even the best EV models may fail to achieve market penetration, leading to frustration among consumers and potential market stagnation. 3. Regional disparities. The report highlights significant regional differences in EV adoption rates, particularly between leading markets like China, Europe, and the United States compared to emerging economies. For example, China is projected to achieve a 50% sales share of new energy vehicles by 2025, far surpassing other regions. Significance. Understanding these regional disparities is crucial for policymakers and investors. The dynamics in these markets can inform strategies for scaling up EV adoption in less developed regions where challenges such as limited infrastructure, financing barriers, and policy support need to be addressed. 4. Heavy-duty vehicles (HDVs) lagging behind. The report notes that while the adoption of electric buses and light-duty vehicles is accelerating, heavy-duty vehicles such as trucks are lagging. Current projections indicate only a modest electric sales share for HDVs in the near term. Significance: the slow electrification of heavy-duty vehicles is often overlooked in broader discussions about EV adoption. However, HDVs contribute significantly to greenhouse gas emissions and air pollution. Accelerating their transition to electric power is essential for achieving overall emissions reduction targets and improving urban air quality. 5. The role of two- and three-wheelers. The electrification of two- and three-wheelers 2/3WS is highlighted as a critical component of overall EV adoption. In many emerging markets, 2/3WS represent the most electrified segment of the transport sector. Significance: this aspect is often overshadowed by discussions on passenger vehicles but is vital for addressing emissions in densely populated urban areas where 2/3WS are prevalent. Supporting the electrification of this segment can lead to significant improvements in urban air quality and contribute to broader climate goals. 6. Impact of consumer behavior. The report points to shifts in consumer preferences towards larger vehicles such as SUVs, which are dominating the EV market. This trend is influencing battery supply chains and critical mineral demand significantly. Significance: the focus on larger, more expensive EV models could create barriers to mass market adoption, particularly in price-sensitive regions. This trend illustrates the need for policies that encourage the development of smaller, more affordable electric vehicles to ensure an inclusive transition to electric mobility. 7. International trade of used EVs. The report discusses the increasing international trade of used electric vehicles, particularly from major markets like China and the European Union to emerging markets. This trend is expected to grow as the stock of older EVs increases in advanced economies. Significance: the emergence of used EV markets can be a game changer for affordability in emerging markets, providing access to cleaner transportation options. However, this trend raises questions about the sustainability of battery disposal and recycling in these regions, necessitating robust end-of-life strategies for EVs. Conclusion: the report on the projected expansion of electric vehicle adoption across key sectors presents several critical insights that require attention. From the implications of rapid growth and infrastructure investment to the nuances of consumer behavior and regional disparities, these elements are pivotal in shaping the future of transportation. Overlooking any of these aspects could hinder the progress toward a more sustainable and inclusive electric mobility landscape. As the world navigates this transformative period, a comprehensive understanding of these dynamics will be essential for policymakers, industry stakeholders, and consumers alike. 1. Global trends in electric vehicle adoption. The projected growth of the electric vehicle EV market is significant, with the International Energy Agency (IEA) forecasting a 12-fold increase in the global electric vehicle fleet by 2035. This expansion is driven by robust policy support, technological advancements, and increasing consumer acceptance. Notably, electric light-duty vehicles (LDVs) are expected to account for 40% of total sales by 2030 and 55% by 2035, with China leading this trend with a target of 50% new energy vehicle sales by 2025. This point indicates a transformative shift in transportation towards electrification, driven by environmental imperatives and technological progress. 2. Investment in infrastructure and policy support. A critical factor in the rapid adoption of EVs across automotive, public transportation, logistics, and renewable energy sectors is the substantial public and private investment in EV infrastructure and technology. Governments are implementing policies including subsidies for EV purchases and investments in charging infrastructure. Countries like India and several Latin American nations are making significant strides in electrifying public transport systems, particularly buses. This investment is pivotal for facilitating the transition to electric mobility and underscores the role of government initiatives in shaping market dynamics. 3. Regional disparities in market dynamics. There are notable differences in EV adoption and infrastructure development across various regions. While the IEA provides a broad global outlook, specific regional insights reveal that markets like China, Europe, and the United States are at the forefront of EV adoption, with ambitious targets and supportive policies. In contrast, emerging markets face challenges including limited funding for incentives and infrastructure. For instance, in India, despite a growing market for electric 2- and 3-wheelers, the overall penetration of EVs remains low. Understanding these regional dynamics is essential for stakeholders aiming to navigate the global EV landscape. For environmental and economic implications, the transition to electric vehicles has significant implications for global carbon emissions and energy demands. The collective insights from various sources indicate that the substantial growth in EV adoption can lead to considerable reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, particularly as the global fleet transitions away from internal combustion engine ICE vehicles. However, the environmental impact of larger electric vehicles, which require more resources and energy to produce, also raises concerns about sustainability. Balancing the benefits of electrification with the environmental costs of larger models will be crucial as the market evolves. This point emphasizes the need for a holistic approach to electrification that considers both environmental sustainability and economic viability. 1. The rise of the automobile in the early 20th century. In the early 1900s, the automobile began to transform personal transportation much like electric vehicles (EVs) are doing today. The introduction of assembly line production by Henry Ford significantly lowered the cost of manufacturing, making cars more accessible to the public. By the 1920s, cars became a symbol of freedom and mobility, with rapid growth in infrastructure such as roads and gas stations supporting this transformation. The expansion of the automobile industry led to a fundamental shift in societal norms, urban planning, and economic structures, similar to the shifts expected with the widespread adoption of EVs. 2. The decline of the horse-drawn carriage. The transition from horse-drawn carriages to motor vehicles in the late 19th and early 20th centuries serves as a historical parallel to the current shift towards electric vehicles. As motor vehicles became more efficient and convenient, the decline of horse-drawn transport was inevitable. This transition was marked by significant changes in infrastructure laws and societal acceptance, mirroring the current trends in EV adoption. The impact of this shift on urban environments, economies, and lifestyles was profound, setting a precedent for how transportation technology can reshape society. 3. The adoption of renewable energy technologies. The global shift towards renewable energy sources in the late 20th and early 21st centuries reflects similar dynamics to the current expansion of electric vehicles. As concerns about climate change and energy security grew, countries began investing in solar, wind, and other renewable technologies. Government subsidies, technological advancements, and shifting consumer preferences facilitated this transition, resulting in significant changes to energy infrastructure and consumption patterns. The parallels to EV adoption include the importance of policy support, technological innovation, and market readiness in driving the transition to sustainable energy solutions. Future outlook: electric vehicle adoption across key sectors by 2025. The electric vehicle EV landscape is set to undergo a seismic shift by 2025, with a projected 50% expansion in adoption across 4 key sectors: automotive, public transportation, logistics, and renewable energy. This growth is driven by a confluence of factors including technological advancements, policy support, and evolving consumer preferences. Here's a breakdown of the anticipated developments in each sector. 1. Automotive sector. The automotive sector is at the forefront of the EV revolution. The International Energy Agency (IEA) forecasts that by 2025, electric light-duty vehicles (LDVs) could account for nearly 40% of total car sales globally. In China, the leading market, electric vehicle sales are expected to reach a staggering 50% share of new car sales by 2025, thanks to strong government incentives and the proliferation of local EV manufacturers. Key drivers: Technological advancements, improvements in battery technology such as higher energy density and reduced costs will enhance the performance and affordability of electric cars. Policy support, governments worldwide are implementing stringent emissions regulations and providing subsidies for EV purchases, further incentivizing consumers. Consumer acceptance. As the variety of electric models increases, consumer acceptance is expected to grow, particularly for affordable and attractive electric models. 2. Public transportation. The public transportation sector is poised for significant electrification, with many cities committing to transition their bus fleets to electric. By 2025, electric buses are projected to account for 30% of new bus sales globally. Countries like India aim to have over 50,000 electric buses on the roads by 2027. Key drivers: funding and investments. Governments are increasingly investing in electric public transport with initiatives such as the Zero Emission Bus Rapid Deployment Accelerator partnership gaining traction. Environmental goals. Cities are under pressure to reduce emissions and improve air quality, making electrification a priority. Operational cost savings. Electric buses offer lower operational costs over time due to reduced fuel and maintenance expenses, making them economically attractive. 3. Logistics sector. The logistics and freight sector, traditionally slow to adopt electrification, is expected to see a substantial increase in electric medium and heavy-duty vehicles (HDVs) by 2025. The IEA projects that electric trucks could represent around 20 to 30% of new truck sales in major markets. Key drivers: policy mandates. Many regions are adopting stringent emissions standards that necessitate the transition to electric trucks. Total cost of ownership. With advancements in battery technology, electric trucks are moving towards parity in total cost of ownership compared to internal combustion engine ICE trucks. Corporate sustainability goals. Companies are increasingly committed to reducing their carbon footprints, leading to investments in electric logistics solutions. 4. Renewable energy integration. The integration of electric vehicles with renewable energy sources is another area set for rapid growth. By 2025, advancements in vehicle-to-grid V2G technology will enable EVs to not only draw power from the grid but also supply energy back, enhancing grid stability and supporting renewable energy usage. Key drivers: grid modernization. As grids become smarter, the role of EVs in energy management will become increasingly important. Incentives for renewable usage. Policies promoting renewable energy consumption will bolster the case for electric vehicles, especially in regions where renewable energy is abundant and cheap. Public awareness and demand. Growing environmental awareness among consumers will drive demand for sustainable transportation options that are integrated with clean energy solutions. Conclusion: by 2025, the trajectory of electric vehicle adoption across the automotive, public transportation, logistics, and renewable energy sectors will reflect a transformative shift towards a more sustainable and electrified future. This expansion will be fueled by a combination of technological innovation, supportive policies, and changing consumer attitudes. As these sectors embrace electrification, significant implications for global carbon emissions, energy consumption, and urban air quality are expected, marking a pivotal moment in the transition to clean transportation.